was one of the great leaders of the underground church in China, and I've benefited so much from his writings. He said, this is decades ago, but it's so applicable to us today. He said, today, even among Christians, there can be found much of that spirit that wants to give as little as possible to the Lord and yet get as much as possible from Him. And then he says something that's in some ways even more interesting. He says, the prevailing thought today is of being used, as though that were the one thing that mattered, to be used of God. That my little rubber band should be stretched to the very limit seems all important, but this is not on the Lord's mind. The Lord wants us to be used, yes, but what He is after is that we pour all that we have ourselves to Him. And if that be all, that's enough. That's enough. So God is not interested in the utility of our service. I talked about serving last time, and I suggested to you that Richard Foster said the way you crunch the flesh is you become a servant, an anonymous servant. And he goes to the other side of the spectrum and says the number one call is to abandon everything you have to God. And it isn't ultimately even to be used of God. It's to spend yourself, to pour everything you have, all of yourself, to Him and lay yourself on the altar. And if that's all that He asks, then so be it. And I know He must be thinking, because I'm thinking, that the echo of that life, totally surrendered, perhaps martyred, perhaps given in some radical way to God, the echo of that life will be that others will hear that echo and follow after God. I think this desire, as he said, to be useful is sometimes a self-interested thing. Foster talks about the desire to be useful, to get the credit, to get the honor, to not be hidden in our usefulness to God. I was just in Africa recently, and David Livingstone's name is still bantered around after 125 years or more of his life in Zambia, and that's the nation where I was. And of course, everybody knows that Stanley was sent in search of Livingstone, and when he found Livingstone alive, they presumed that he was dead. When they found him alive, then the biggest headlines that had ever been used, type that had ever been used in England, was used, Livingstone found. He gave his life in hiddenness, in complete obscurity, no cameras, nobody watching. And he became, perhaps at one point, one of the most famous men on the face of the earth. The decision to grow, John Ortberg said, always involves a choice between risk and comfort. You can't give as little as possible to the Lord and get as much as possible. You simply can't do that. You have to surrender your all. You have to give your all, and you have to give your all in hiddenness. You have to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and that means you have to renounce comfort as the ultimate value of your life. And when you do that, you discover the path that Jesus laid out for us. And that's the path of descending into greatness, giving it all up, having a name that's above every name, having status, being equal with God, being the essence of God, but not seeking to make a name for himself. He gives himself in complete obedience to death, the death of the cross, and God exalts him. God raises him up. I think we have to change, and we say, Lord, I want as much as possible of you, and I want to give everything I have to you. I want to surrender everything to you. I want to know you and the power of your resurrection, even if it means fellowshipping with your sufferings. Hey, this is Doug Small, Project Pray, the thought for the day. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we're in trouble as a nation, especially if you hold biblical and conservative values. It seems that the nation is unraveling, coming apart at the seams, and it's tearing the fabric of families, godly families, families that have roots in Christian tradition. The Bible offers a promise. If the government will not turn to God, then if my people will pray, I'll hear from heaven and heal their land. We're relying on that. We've been leaning on that passage for a long time. We can't stop. So in January 1 through 21, every day at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm hosting a call, as I did for many, many years, with national prayer leaders, praying for spiritual awakening in the nation. We'll have guests, we'll have interviews, we'll have information, and we'll cry out to God. 21 days of prayer. America's prayer meeting. Don't miss it.